Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Animate Orange, and welcome to another Metal Earth build. Today, you guessed it, we're going to put together the A-Wing Star Wars model from Metal Earth. This is another one of the models that I've been very much looking forward to, and I finally got around to putting it together. How complicated is this going to be with the new Star Wars models being so much more detailed and challenging to build? Let's see how this measures up to, say, the Y-Wing. Let's go over to the table, open it up, and start putting it together. Time to put together the A-Wing fighter. But first, let's open it up, see what's inside. I already have an idea. It's probably going to be some metal sheets and paper instructions, but how many of each? Put that to the side. We have a quarter sheet. Looks like that is mostly the stand and a few trim pieces. We have a full-size sheet. We have another full-size sheet, so 2 1/4 sheets in the package. We're going to look at the instructions ever so briefly, just in case you are new to building these models. And honestly, if you're new to building this might not be the model to start with, because I already hear it's complicated. But let's go over this really quickly. We open the instructions up, the one that has the logos on it. We know that that's going to have page 1. Page 1 top, pretty much the entire page 1 is set up here. We've got a line drawing of the model in a sheet. The QR code is a website you can go to see a completed 360 view. I believe the 360 view is up, or you can scan this QR code. We have the metal sheet beneath that, an outline of the metal sheets. So I'm just going to grab the one here on top, which looks like I have grabbed sheet A. I'll put it beside it. This is an outline of sheet A. Yes, they are all labeled A, B, and C. Makes it easier to find the parts. You have all the part numbers around it, pointing at the parts. You'll notice that some items are colored in. The ones that are colored in the same color are the same part, because things are symmetric and there's oftentimes more than one part of the same part. So here, this yellow bit labeled 9, this is also labeled, or also 9, it's not labeled, but it's the same part used in 2 different places. Also, like I said, we've got sheet A, B, and C, so in the instructions, when they call for a part, they're going to call for it by the sheet that it's on, which is going to make it easier to find it. A little bit different than, say, MU, where each sheet would have a part 1, and there are different parts. Part 1 is going to be completely unique, and the only reason it would be a duplicate part is because it's the exact same part. So this helps you locate the parts a lot easier. I love that. We slide over to page 2. We have some more information here. We've got a sample part laid out flat with the notation on insertion tabs, insertion holes, and fold lines. Basically, the tabs go into the holes. That's how these things are built and connected. Fold lines are pre-scored areas where the part folds. Beside that's a legend E. When you see E pointing at something, or a part of something is pointing at an engraved or colored side or section. That's where the detail is. NE is a non-engraved side or section, usually just a plain silver side. Sometimes it's pointing at the engraving, but it's the fold line engraving, so try not to get mixed up on that. Basically, the non-engraved is not the side that's colored and detailed that shows on the outside. Attention point, when you see that, it's usually one of 2 things. It's either pointing at how something aligns, to make sure something aligns up properly, or occasionally it'll have text with it explaining what you need to pay attention to. The previous model, it was making sure you put tabs in the right slots. We have the blue circle and green triangle. These are in pretty much every piece of instructions. The blue circle, when you see that by a connection point, it indicates to insert a tab and fold it over 90 degrees. We have some examples down here. Green triangle means to insert a tab and twist it to 90 degrees. The twisted tabs are more secure but not as clean looking. The blue tabs are usually used on the outside or in areas where clearance is an issue for a cleaner look. And beside that, we have recommended tools. We'll talk about tools in a moment. We also have an assembly tip about lightly twisting tabs on difficult or unstable parts until later, where you can then, once more of the model is together, you can go back and untwist and fold it over. Below that, we have the start of the assembly flowchart, starting of course with part 1. We have some yellow highlights here, which is a little bit new, but I'm thinking that indicates that needs to be curved, as indicated over here. So that's kind of new. I'm wondering if they've started using yellow is curve and red is fold, because red is normal. As you can see here, we've got this bit highlighted in red and an arrow pointing down to show that it's folded down. But then this arrow up here shows that the whole top part has kind of a bowed shape to it. Kind of a bowed shape. And then the ends are rounded over. And then you end up with this over here. Below that, you get part 2, which is on sheet B. You fold it like that. You do 2 of them. They're both here. They connect with twisted tabs to the back. Part 3 on sheet C. There's the part. It's also folded like this. There you go. That attaches here. 4 on sheet C. There's the part. Folds like that. Ended up with this. It's here. It attaches twisted tabs there, and you end up with that. And that's the gist of how the instructions work. You have sub-assemblies and assemblies. Follow the arrows, the sub-assemblies. Work your way down the page. You get to the bottom, we flip over to page 3, follow that through, page 4. When you're done with 4, you grab the other sheet, open it up to 5, then 6, 7, and 8. Once you're done, you're finished with your model. Let's take a moment to talk about some tools, and I've got what I consider the basic set in front of me, starting with a pair of flush clippers or side clippers. These are primarily used to cut the parts out of the sheets. You can get the parts out by folding and twisting, though you run the risk of breaking something you didn't mean to break. A good pointed set of side cutters or flush cutters, like this Play-Doh set that I've got here, work really great for quickly getting the parts out so you can get on with your build. I have, of course, a small selection of tweezers. We've got a fairly basic set. This actually came with one of the older Iconics sets, and I've been using it for quite a while. But a good sturdy flat end tweezers can come in really handy for doing a great number of things. I also have a few pieces from a precision set of tweezers. If you need some precision tweezers, just search precision tweezers online. You'll be able to find something out there. These two are very similar. They have a very fine point, though I did grind the tip of these down to help me grab tabs. And then this is just kind of a flat set for getting in tight spaces. And then we have couple of pieces left over from the Fascinations 3-piece set. I broke the clippers long ago, so I had to replace them. But we have long nose pliers and flat nose pliers. Really handy. These are handy for bending long parts, and these are handy for bending short sections right here. But this is the basic set. We'll do a great amount of things with just this set right here. You'll be able to build a lot of different models and do a lot of different things. When it comes to shaping curved, domed, or rounded kind of parts, I like to have some sort of tool to mold things around, and I've designed some 3D printable tools for use in that. You might see me using the video. I've got some cone shaping tools. I have a little block here for rounding stuff. I have larger cone shape combo tools, and even a little tool for shaping dome shapes. However, you can just look around the house and find parts, dowel rods, pencils, beads, paintbrushes, pens, things like that can also be used to shape stuff as well. As for the 3D printed parts, I do sometimes print up extras and sell them on Etsy, or you can just get the STL files if you have a 3D printer yourself and print these out. I'll try to include links to both the STL files and the Etsy store in the description down below. I also have these step mandrels that I occasionally pull out. These are something else you can find in the jewelry making section. They just have different size round bits for shaping things like tires. Stuff in the jewelry section can come in very handy for making 3D metal models. Every now and then I'll pull out something from my sculpting set. I found a sculpting set of tools, something like 10 or 11 pieces on Amazon. This is just a few of them. The hooks come in very handy sometimes for manipulating tabs into slots in tight areas, and also these pieces can come in handy for reaching in and shaping things, and sometimes reaching in and bending over tabs with the edge. We've taken a moment to talk about some tools. I've got my basic set at the ready, some tweezers, some pliers, and the ever important clippers. Metal sheets laid out. I'm going to organize this, bring my magnifying lamp back up here, and we'll get started on this build. As you can see, I used a small taper to curve over the front edges. It's a 3D printed tool I have been experimenting with. Alternatively, you can use a drill bit or dowel rod to make the basic curved shape and then adjust the ends. I may have curved that a bit much. This part was a little stiff and didn't want to fold. Before I go any further, CodeWiki has warned me not to forget to fold the edges down just a bit. Part 11 and 12 seemed a little complicated to fold, but taken one step at a time, it's not hard to work out. Not being too sure how this part was shaped, I folded 14 a little too narrow. I got a little ahead of myself and closed up the back without part 15. Like I said before, I folded it too narrow. Now, time to open it back up. Now to open the back up a bit so I can squeeze in part 15. By the time I had added the parts to the cockpit cover, I was pretty sure I had seriously mangled the shape, but when attached to the body, it looked good. Be sure to fold the edges so that the detailed side is sunk in. These next two parts sit sunk in along the edge and back. I was able to catch the curved part along the back edge and use the back edge to curve it. Putting these two corner pieces on is a bit more difficult than expected. I made several attempts before getting it right. I did clip some of those attempts out. I didn't have the same luck with the back curved part on this side, but that's okay, I can shape it with tweezers. What I learned from my experience on the other side with this part is to make sure at least the one rear tab is in the slot that is more fixed before pushing the side tabs into their slots. One of the rear slots is on a thin part that is flexible so you can get that piece in last. I wasn't real sure what to do with the little pieces on the back. It looked like some sort of cable. I am guessing that will make more sense as I get farther into the build. Next up are the side guns, I think. I didn't realize until I was partway through building one, but they are both the same and you could build them together. I instead completed one and then went back and finished the other. It was seemingly impossible not to end up with loose bits as you build this part. On the second go around, I did my best to make things more secure, but only could do so much. I had to use the flat nose pliers to help pinch this part around the cone shape of the tool. It's such a small curve and the metal does not want to bend. Ever felt like the parts are working against you and don't want to fit, shape, or fold correctly? I was feeling that as I was building this first gun. I spent time shaping the parts, then put them together and knocked them out of shape and had to sort of fix that shape. Part 27 was interesting. It has a unique way of connecting when you curve it around. It connects into a box shape. I had to double check myself several times to make sure I put part 27 on correctly. Part 29 is one of those parts where it's easy to get confused which side is the engraved side. The engraving on one side is fold lines, while the side meant to face out is on the silver side, at least according to the picture on the package. The other gun assembles the same, though I did make a few changes in how I went about things. For one, I made more of an effort to tighten tabs, and two, I bent more exterior tabs out and over to make it more solid. and the side guns are done. You guessed it, that brings us to the end of part 1. This was long enough that I've split it into 2 still rather long build sections. So far it has been a detailed model, but I wouldn't say it's been as complicated or as challenging as the Y-Wing, though still pretty cool, very nice build. Maybe I'm just getting used to the complexity of it all. In part 2, we're going to pick up where we left off and finish this build, so I will see you there. Everyone take care. May the 4th be with you, and keep on keeping on.